What if I told you herpes doesn't get to decide how your story goes? Not your future, not your relationships, or who you become. You see, most people believe otherwise. They believe that their diagnosis already wrote the ending, and now all they have left is to live it out. Here's the thing. Your diagnosis is a fact, and it's something you can't change. But how it affects your future, well, that part gets decided by you and the meaning you've attached to it. Now, before we get into it, I want to tell you about the day my diagnosis was confirmed, because this is where I first saw the difference between facts and beliefs. I was in a relationship for 10 years with someone who told me from the very beginning that he has herpes. And during that entire time, I didn't have a single symptom. Then, after that relationship ended and I was getting my life back together, I moved into my new place, and shortly after that, I noticed something down there. Then I called my ex. I got really upset. And after I hung up the phone, I went on the internet and did some research, like most of you have. And because I didn't have the typical symptoms, I convinced myself it was just a pimple. But a couple of months later, I felt another pimple down there, but this time it was different, and I had all the telltale signs. So I went to my doctor, she did a swab test, sent it off to the lab, and a couple of days later, I got the call. And in one moment, I heard the words, "You're positive for HSV2." And in the next moment, I felt like my life was over. Notice what happened there? The fact was, I have HSV2. The belief was, my life is over. And I treated that belief like it was just as true as the diagnosis itself, but it wasn't. One was a fact I couldn't change, and the other was a belief I never questioned. So why does that matter? Because your brain can't tell the difference of what's real and what's not. It doesn't actually respond to facts. It responds to the meaning that you give something. In other words, it's not the diagnosis that you're reacting to, it's the story that you immediately attach to it. And once that belief forms, that's the point where you just stop asking yourself, is this actually true? And you start living like it is. But the thing about beliefs is that they can be changed. And the key is that you have to want to change them. And more importantly, you have to know that it's possible for you.